There's something
I'm
in the
CPR
drink I
certified
got
and
choked too.
Heimlich certified.
Did you choke?
Something in the drink, huh?
Okay, well, tonight is the last part of the series about what God is teaching us. And I have been going through a study, well, it's been a while since, but called Life Healing Choices. And it's basically something that I needed in my life when I left friends. I was not where I needed to be. And so my life was kind of spinning, and it was very hard to, I went to Church of the Open Door. It's not like I stopped going to church, but it was not where I was connected. I sang on the worship team, but I felt like I was just me, and it wasn't like a team. It was just kind of everybody did their own thing. It's not like here where I felt like I'm part of a family. When my ex-husband left, my life just kind of dropped. It was like I didn't want to go on. I did some things that I shouldn't have. But God was he was there. I knew he was there, but I just felt like I don't need him, and that was just where I was at. And I came back here on the Christmas Eve for service, and I was like, I knew exactly this is where I belong. And I had people saying, oh no, you don't want to go back there, but I knew God was Pastor Jeff was actually talking about family that Christmas Eve and how this church is a family, and I needed that family. So that's where I was, and that's when I started coming back to Friends. And it's been a rocky road. I'm not going to say everything was easy, because it wasn't. I made some wrong choices, and I've done some things that I was very ashamed of. But God is teaching me through all of those that he is there, and he's willing to forgive you for everything, no matter what it is that you do. So that's when I started this book called Life's Healing Choices. Thank you, Mary. The one thing there's a couple different things in here is God was talking, he says, I've seen how they acted, but I will heal them. I lead them and help them, and I will comfort those who mourn. I offer peace to all, both near and far. I will heal my people. That to me was huge, because I knew that he forgave me for everything that I've done. And he's there for me every day, not just when I need him. He's there even when I don't need him. He's there. He promised us, if you are hurt, God says, I will heal you. If you're confused, God says, I will lead you. If you feel helpless, God says, I will help you. If you feel alone, God says, I will comfort you. And that was a really big one, because I felt alone. And then he says, if you feel anxious and afraid, God says, I will offer peace to you. So those were just some really big points that God was saying, hello, I'm here. And I think I was fighting him at every step of the way. And I had someone pray that I would come to the end of my rope, which was really hard to hear someone saying, I want you to come to the end of your rope so you realize what you're doing. And so I finally think I came to the end of my rope, and everything was just laid out in front of me, and the people that loved me the most were saying, hello, you're doing this, why are you doing this? They're telling me, this may be hard for you to hear, but we love you and we want to help you. So when it comes from the people that know you the most, you know you're doing something wrong. But I was still I don't need God, that kind of thing. And I knew I needed him, but I wanted to do it on my own. And that was really hard for me to do. So when I started this book, I needed to make choices. It says here, choices that will change your life. Realize that I'm not God, and admit that I am powerless to control my tendencies to do the wrong thing, and that my life is unmanageable. So that was a really big, I am not God. every day I woke up with that, okay, God, I'm not you. I need you to get me through this day. And to read that happy are those who know that they are spiritually poor is something that is really hard to think about. Happy are those that are spiritually poor. Then every day I just say, God, it's yours now. I can't do this on my own. The other, number 2 was earnestly believe that God exists and that I matter to him and that he has the power to help me recover. Every day is a new challenge. It may be the same thing that I'm doing every day, but I'm challenged in a different way. Being with people that I work with are not Christians by any way, shape, or form. He challenges me every day to not participate in what they talk about every day or to say something. And I've been slowly but surely getting there, telling them, why don't you guys come to church? They all live in Elyria or Lorraine or that kind of thing, and they're like, oh, it's so far. It's not far, it's 15 minutes. It's not. So I'm hoping that throughout the summer, I'll be able to get them to come to something like this, because they're younger, they're in their 20s. So I'm like the older person and it's Sunday night, the mall's closed, they can come. That's what I'm looking to try to do. The other one was consciously choose to commit all of my life and will to Christ's care and control. That means everything. And that's the hardest. There are portions of me that don't want to give up my control. I have control of those. And when we commit our lives to Christ, we become a new person, and we can finally give up trying to control ourselves and others. We replace our willpower with the willingness to accept God's power. It's such a huge, almost it's like every weight is lifted off your shoulder when you actually give it all to him. Everybody worries. Everybody has those tendencies, but when you give that over to him, your shoulders feel so light. And it's an amazing feeling. I deal with it every day, though, giving up just that little, there's something in me that I want to control. If I just give it to him, I get through the day much easier. The other one is openly examine and confess my faults to myself, to God, and to someone I trust. That was very hard for me to, I don't know if, a lot of you guys know Gina Glazer. I chose her to someone I can trust completely and told her, it was very hard to tell her everything. There's got to be someone in your life that you can totally trust to be able to openly share everything with them, because if you don't, you're holding something back, and God doesn't want you to hold something back. And then voluntarily submit to every change God wants to make in your life, and humbly ask him to remove any of your character defects. That's really examining your life and really finding the things that God doesn't really like, or that we want to admit that God doesn't like. And sometimes that's hard to do. Happy are those whose greatest desire is to do what God requires. And sometimes I feel like God's requiring me to do something I really, really don't want to do. Like, this is not my forte at all. I can sing, that's easy. Getting up and singing for God is really easy, but to talk is very, very hard for me. But when we submit all the changes God wants to make in our lives, we humbly ask him to work in our lives and bring about the needed changes. It just shows, like, I know Casey, I was not a very nice person for a long time, and I would get mad at them very easily. But we've talked, more and more. My kids see the change in me, where I don't get angry, I don't scream, I get frustrated, but what mom doesn't get frustrated with teenagers? But I feel that I'm slowly getting to be a more likable mom, right? She's not going to say anything. So it's just, I feel like God's showing me the changes that I need to make, even through my kids. And then the one is to evaluate all of my relationships. offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me, and to make amends for harm I've done to the others, and accept when to do so would harm, or evaluate all of my relationships, offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me, and make amends for harm I've done to others, and accept when to do so would harm other people. You don't want to forgive something if it's going to harm them. We don't want to harm anybody. But we have to do our best to restore relationships that we've hurt in the past. And then the big one was to reserve daily time with God for self-examination. I had gotten away from doing that. Reading the Bible, when I have time. I always made myself busy doing something else. Whether it be watching TV, watching programs I shouldn't watch, I've got to take the kids here, I've got to take the kids there, or, I have this to do, I have that to do. So I was always making excuses. But if we actually reserve that daily time, it's so much, your day, I start it that way. I start my day reading the Bible. If I don't feel like my day's going to go well. And then yield myself to God to be used to bring his good news to others, both by example and by my words. We have to be examples to God, for God, so that others see in us him. It's not, in this day and age, it's not an easy thing to do. It's easy here, but when we go out into the malls or that kind of thing, it's not an easy thing to do. I find it very difficult, and I don't know how you do it, Ben, all the time. It's not an easy thing. I shy away from it, but God's pushing me towards doing something where it shows in me and not in, I don't even know how. It has to show through me and not the me that I used to be. There's a couple other things in the book that were really huge deals for me. I know I'm reading a lot out of the book, but this book really kind of brought it to the forefront of what God was saying. This is what I need you to do. The one was about getting help, and it says in the book, don't refuse God's power to help. Don't push him away. He's there to help us through everything. And the one thing is that in crisis, God uses the pain of unexpected crisis to shatter our denial. Illness caused by years of substance abuse or stress brought on by workaholism, job loss due to inappropriate actions, or divorce, to infidelity. God uses those crises to help you maybe help someone else that has those. God sometimes just steps back to let us feel the full impact of our own poor choices. And he says, you want to be God? Okay, have it your way. That's when you have to give it up. God's going to let you go through that pain. And that's, I feel, was what he did for me. Okay, you want to be me? Go ahead. And that's when my life kind of fell apart. But now it's not a process where you go, one day your life is really, really bad and the next day it's really good. It's a process. But you have to choose to believe and choose to receive. And that was the big deal for me. I had to choose to receive his love. I did believe in him, and I knew that he was there, but I had to choose to let him in again. Anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. And that